there, and welcome to another fun-educative edition of the Springboard Hangout. The Springboard Hangout, as you know, is your fun program where we learn and find things that are relevant to our lives. My name is Comfort Okran. This week, we are continuing our series on adding value to yourself. And we are looking at the question, or we are finding out how we can increase our mental capacity. As you know, Bible says that as a man thinketh, so is he. Is that true? I guess it is, but how can we do it so that we become even more valuable in our various spheres of influence? You know, today I have a gentleman and someone whose whole work is dealing with the mind and the body. We have in the studios Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur, a clinical psychologist, a medical professional, as well as a carpenter. Do you think the carpentry has anything to do with his clinical psychology work? I don't know. We are here to find out, and to find out how we can build our mental capacities. You see, if you stay with me and you don't go anywhere, whilst you call a friend, I'm going to drop a tape by Kwesi Oteng. I am a winner because we have to win in our mental capacity. Don't go anywhere. We're right back.
Everybody put your one hand up. If you know, say you know no defeat.
I'm a winner, I'm a winner, I'm a winner.
Put your one hand up. If you know, say you cannot be stopped.
I'm a winner, I'm a winner.
Doesn't matter what the situation. Go say or go tell you.
I'm a winner, I'm a winner.
Make this bold confession in the face of Wahala.
I'm a winner.
God is there, my side, oh. He will never leave, oh. And I'm an overcomer. I don't know defeat, oh. Everything I do, every word I say, everything I touch, I just a window. Everywhere I go, everywhere I am, everything I do, I just a window. Nothing is impossible with God on my side. Oh.
I'm a winner, I'm a winner.
Come rain or shine, I will be on top. Oh.
I'm a winner,
I'm winning in the morning, winning in the afternoon or night.
I'm a winner, I'm a winner.
My cup overflows with power in the name of Jesus. God is there, my side, oh. He will never leave, oh. I'm an overcomer, and I don't know defeat. Everything I do, everywhere I go, everything I touch, I just a widow. I'm moving forward, not looking back. In the name of Jesus, I just a
Welcome back to the Springboard Hangout. And you know, as Kwesi Oteng put it so well, we are winners. How can we win in our mental capacity? And so today we are adding value to ourselves. And we have in the studios the one and only Isaac Newman Arthur. He is clinical psychologist, medical professional, and a carpenter. Let's start from carpentry. What does carpentry do to help you mentally?
Well, I think for me, carpentry is fun. Is me. I love wood. So at some point in my life, I discovered that I could do carpentry. So I didn't even learn it from anywhere. I just have flashes of images, so I draw them and I make them. And I think it's also a stress reliever for me because it's a break away from the mainstream, seeing patients or clients in a consulting room. So it's a distressing activity for me.
It's a distressing activity for you.
Yes.
So in that case then, what does your mental health, or how important is your mental health to an individual?
So the differences between two adults is their mental capacity. That's all.
Really?
Yes, the way we see things.
Okay.
The way we think, feel, and behave. That is mental health. So anytime you hear mental, there are three dimensions: thinking, feelings, and behavior.
Thinking, feelings, behavior.
And it is these three processes that determines everything we do. Our choices, our ability to do things. Because our brain is one of the principal things that develop, in the womb up to about sixth week to about 25 years.
Okay.
So the brain is constantly growing. Developing until 25 years.
Wow.
So you realize that as you grow older, your ability to take decisions, reason, analyze things, gradually progresses until about 25. So before 25, almost all your decisions are really not okay. I remember when I was in secondary school, when I thought I was on top of my game. You grow up and realize that no, you were quite foolish on many occasions.
It's said that when you're a child, you think like a child.
Yes. So the Bible really talks about a lot of things. So the brain is so important because all our interactions with our environment, everything we decide on, all our interaction is determined by our nervous system.
Okay.
That is so primary.
Okay.
And so the way you feel, there are portions of the brain that is responsible for that. The way you think, your memory, even comprehension of language and articulation of language, they are parts of the brain responsible for that. And so the brain grows, and how we think, feel, and behave is influenced by the capacity of our brain to comprehend and also our interaction with the environment. So those two things are very important. So that is why when children are growing up in a womb and there are problems with it, or even around delivery, there are problems with it, it affects their interaction. We have autism, intellectual problems, even attention problems and all that. So the brain is so important. When someone has, let's say, this medical condition, stroke, where the part of the brain is affected, you realize that it affects everything else. So if there is one thing that differentiates between adults who are succeeding and those who are not, those who are at the peak of their performance and those who are not, is how their brain functions.
Wow. So you have laid out in this short time the importance of our mental state. So I believe that we are on the right track, asking ourselves, how can we add value to our mental capacity? Isaac, we have someone, most of our listeners are young, very, very vibrant, and they have a lot of ideas. We want together to increase what value we render in our various places that we work, or we are places of influence. How can we increase, because you said in your statement that till 25 years, you are still you moving. So does that imply that 25, you can't add any value to yourself again?
So the brain development itself is from about 6 weeks in the womb to about 25. So it's the brain development.
Okay.
Your brain is what controls everything. So that growth, physical growth, the brain substance itself, up to about 25 years. But growth is until death.
Growth is until death. So value addition is until death.
Until death. So every interaction, the information you're picking, and the experiences you are gathering, those two things help your brain to be able to properly evaluate your environment and be able to take the right decisions and make the right choices. So so someone may be 6, but may have developed their capacity that if you compare them with someone who is 15 years, you may see a vast difference. Because at 6, they may have had some training, some experience, some exposure to some information, that their capacity may even be, better or more than someone who is 15 years. You may find someone who is 20 years, and the way they speak, articulate, interact with the environment and the achievement, may more than someone who is 40 years.
So Akwalanyame is there as well as
Yes.
Okay. So then, if we're looking at this, and we've seen that it's important, we've seen how important it is, we've seen some of the triggers that can help in terms of the fact that your exposure,
the information and experiences.
the information and experiences help build your mental capacity.
Yes.
And so, how can one, in this case, enable or push the agenda of building their mental capacity? What can you give us some specific ways in which we can help build that mental capacity?
Okay, there are about 3 basic things I would suggest. 1, you need to create a certain environment. Environment that would make that growth easier. Environment of warmth, love, and acceptance. And usually, this environment is created by significant others in our lives. So your parents, your siblings, and the people you hold dear. Everybody has the potential for growth, and that growth can be uninterrupted naturally if that environment is there. Warmth, love, and acceptance. So growing up, if you're receiving that, you grow naturally. So for example, if you have a plant, they need sunlight, they need carbon dioxide, they need water and nutrients to grow. If those things are available, the growth is uninterrupted. But the human growth in terms of your own mental health is that environment you need is warmth, love, and acceptance. All this, if it's there, you are able to grow. That is why children who don't grow in that environment, and they grow up in a certain environment of abuse, neglect, and those things, their growth is affected. So they grew up to have a negative self-image. Their relationships becomes affected. Everything, because adults are a reflection of their childhood. So that environment is what we need to grow mentally. So you need to create that. If, for example, you are growing older and you have control over your own choices, and if you're a parent, you have to realize that you're creating a certain environment either to enable or destroy a person's mental growth. That is the first one. Secondly, you need to, choose the information you feed on. And that is when you read, you engage in certain training programs, and some of the programs Springboard organizes, the purpose is only to change a person's mindset.
Exactly.
So the information you feed on all the time. So that is why even the Bible talk, I think Philippians chapter 4, verse 8, whatever is true, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good, says dwell on these things.
So number 1, the environment is important.
Environment and the information.
The information
is very important.
So listen to more Springboard. Yes, let's go on.
So whatever you're reading, whatever you're listening to, whatever you get involved in, plus the company you keep. Because the company you keep, the people you surround yourself with are constantly giving you a certain kind of information.
Wow.
So if you're around friends who talk well, they are always wanting, strategizing, wanting to achieve. That information helps with your growth. So you need to be very, very careful about the people you surround yourself with. No wonder how people can be around Reverend Mrs. Alberto Cran and not be challenged, But you can keep a certain kind of company that will disrupt that kind of growth because they are giving you some kind of information all the time. Then the third one, I would say, that can help is that you need to consistently determine the kind of experiences you allow into your life. Any experience that destroys your growth, you need to keep it at a distance. So the experiences you entertain around you, and as you grow older, you have a choice to stay
with or without.
With any bad experience, you have a choice.
Yeah.
You have a choice to decide. And now, because also social media has become an important tool to deciding the kind of experiences you gain, very, very important. So you would have to determine, you have to make the right choices of the experiences you expose yourself to. And as you grow older, you have more control over those choices. You know, when you're younger, other people may decide those things for you, but you know, so as you grow older, so someone may get in touch with me and say, Dr. Arthur, my parents have done this and that, they didn't do that. I said, oh, hold on.
They've
Hold on.
gone.
You now have the choice to
Yeah.
decide.
Yeah.
So if you live up to 80, you are
Yes.
now 20 years. You
Yes.
have 60 years
Yes.
to decide whatever happens around you. And that is your choice. So you can choose the experiences that, you know, would add value to your life. You can choose to, you know, get into certain companies or certain programs or certain relationships. It's your choice. Or to stay in a certain relationship. You know, that is a choice. So as you grow older, you have control over your choices. And that will determine the kind of experiences you expose yourself to.
Wow. I mean, this is mind blowing. Then we are talking about the mind. and because you know, sometimes you hear someone saying that, oh, I came from an abused family, or I had an abused background, or our parents I mean, we hardly existed in their lives. And sometimes you think the person will be scarred for life. And in fact, sometimes there are people who are saying, well, this one, you are scarred for life. But here we are learning that, look, your mental capacity, you can choose to either change and increase it, or decide that you let it atrophy, and that's it. That is your choice.
Yeah, I think I forgot to add this. I think it's important to add that,
No.
you know, one of the things is also what you focus on.
What you focus
What you
on.
focus on. So two people may have the same experience. One will decide to focus on making things better. Another person will focus on blaming everybody else and feeling sorry, you know, and dwelling on that pain for life. Because you can turn pain into passion.
Pain into passion.
Pain into passion. And so, for example, if you have a certain past experience that is negative, you can decide to create passion out of it. So probably, unfortunately, you were raped. Very, very terrible experience, which shouldn't happen to anybody. But another person can dwell on that pain and drown. Another person will say, okay, I was raped. Let me get over it. And now help rape victims. Now the person becomes a voice for rape victims. And that is when they begin to shine. And that is when people will begin to, you know, call them. You know, I have gone through my own experiences in the past. And now I thank God I went through them. You know, many years ago, I got addicted to certain things. And now I help people with addictions. So someone may dwell on that painful past experience and say, and blame everybody else.
There's
But
no
someone can still decide to turn that pain into some passion. And one of the critical things we do when it comes to value addition is to help people turn their pain into something that can be very useful. And I think that is why God even allows us to go through some things. Because if you've not been through, you can't take others through.
How?
You
Can
can't
you
take others through.
So once you've gone through it, you're able to
It's
say, you know
possible.
what, I went through it, it was bad, but I know how we can change this particular experience to something
Yeah,
positive.
there's a lady I know who is doing so well with suicide victims.
Okay.
Because she almost committed suicide when she was 14, 15.
Wow.
Now she has an NGO for suicide victims. And
Okay.
she's doing amazingly well.
I think I need to have her on this program
Yes,
one
I
of these
think
days.
so, yes.
Yeah, so she can talk about the work
Yes.
and how it's very, very impactful in people's
Yes, we had
lives.
an
Wow.
intervention for about 19 kids who wanted to commit suicide. And now they're doing well. And it's through her. 19 children between age 7 and 12.
Between age 7 and 12.
Yes, age 7 and 12. And some of them have, you know, done all kinds of things to themselves because they want to die. I remember one girl who said, the father looked at her and said, your face looks like an animal. You know, in Chi, when him say abuebi,
Oh,
you know, and that damaged her. She wants to die.
oh, poor baby.
Yeah, so it is through this
that
woman that we got
Who
to
turned her pain into passion.
passion.
So let's continue about turning our pain into passion. How can we increase our value? And today we are continuing our series on value addition, adding value to your life. And we are looking at the mental capacity, increasing our mental capacity. Things that we have heard from Dr. Newman or Isaac is the fact that, number one, our mental capacity is the most important aspect of our lives. I'm sure somebody else will come and say head. No, but technically, we all know that the brain commands the whole area. So yes, that's the most important part of our mental capacity. Additionally, he told us that, our feelings, our thoughts, and creates our world. He says that for the brain to develop well, you need warmth, you need love, you need feeling. But most importantly, we have the choice to decide to build or not to build. And that makes the whole difference between one individual and another individual. So we realize that the company we keep plays a role. The consistency with which we and then what we choose to focus on as well is very, very important. Therefore, having heard all this, one thing I want to know how they can increase their mental health. Now, I want to know what happens if someone, unfortunately, decides that I don't want to do it.
There are 6 areas of their lives that will be affected. And
6
areas of their lives that will be affected. And those 6 areas is what we even use to determine whether your mental capacity is strong or not.
Okay.
So 1, your ability to cope and adjust to life situations. We go through all kinds of changes in life and challenges. And so if you fail to develop your mental capacity, you cannot cope and adapt or adjust to life situations. You'll always be overwhelmed by things. So you may have 2 people going through the same things. One comes out better than the other because the other person has been able to develop their mental capacity to cope and adjust with life situations. That is why some people may fail. They may move on because they have the capacity to cope and adjust. And so they are not overwhelmed with life situations. Whilst others are crying, they're actually looking at ways to...
And they actually thrive.
Yeah, they are thriving.
Because they build their mental capacity. So
the ability to cope and adjust will be affected too.
Okay.
It would affect your relationships, your ability to form and maintain meaningful relationships. And we are social beings. We interact with people all the time. And those who are mentally sound and strong, their relationships go well. They know how to resolve conflicts. They know how to interact with people. They know how to, form meaningful relationships, network and all that, because they have a very, very, very sound mental capacity. 3, their self-identity will be affected. How they see themselves, their external and internal qualities. They will love themselves, appreciate themselves.
Yeah.
I think there's this guy who doesn't have arms and legs, Nick something.
Yes. He's such a phenomenal speaker.
Kids, and I'm sure at some point he needed to maximum. I'm sure he was worried at some point, but at some point he needed to say, no, this is how I was created. I love the way I am. Let me use that as a tool to make impact. And now he's all over the place. Someone like that has a very, very strong mental capacity. So your own identity, how you see yourself, when you look into the mirror, what do you see? Your internal and external qualities. Very important. There's this expression Adam made, when he saw Eve. He says, now this is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Bone is internal. Flesh is external. So the flesh represents the external qualities. The bone represents the internal qualities. So how excited are you with your internal and external qualities? That is a major area. It gives you confidence about yourself, your ability to push through. Then another area that will be affected has to do with pursuing your life goals.
Okay.
Ability to dream, strategize, plan to achieve it. Anybody who has a strong mental capacity, they're able to do it, regardless of where they are, who they are. You can thrive in Ghana. You don't have to go to the US.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Like you have thrived in Ghana, that people in the US are looking for you. When someone may be in the US and drown. And it's your capacity to, your mental capacity.
I want us to hold on to our horses. The last 2 that you have to share is very, 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 very serious apport. So I want you to hold on to it. We'll go for a quick break. When we return, we'll continue this very, very inspiring conversation. Don't go anywhere. I'm waiting for your... you sent me some questions and so on and so on. So we'll read it also when we return from the break. So don't go anywhere. This, I think, is the most impactful conversation I've had on the Springboard Hangout.
Get me York's Rent a Car. I need a car in 15 minutes. Hi, I'm Jake Morris, and I travel globally. But when I'm in Ghana, York's Rent a Car is my reliable choice for safety and comfort on the road. York's Rent a Car provides comprehensive logistics services to mainly blue chip companies as well as individual clients.
At a time we needed a car rental service, and York's fitted in very well per our standards.
Their services is top notch. Drivers are on time.
It was beautiful to see them behind the wheels, and anytime they pick up a guest, the guests were very, very happy.
Already? Excellent. York's Rent a Car provides services and expertise that include meet and greet services at the airport, car rental, driver personal outsourcing, and vehicle detailing. What's the problem? It's you. I told you. York's Rent a Car delivers world-class service to its customers, having their highest safety and comfort in mind. So watch you. Go over to open for him. York's Rent a Car runs 24/7 operations where customers can make car reservations and inquiries of our services online and also call our hotline.
Welcome back to the Springboard Hangout. Today we are to continue our series on adding value to yourself. And today we are focusing, putting our lenses on building your mental capacity. And we have in the studios today Dr. Newman Arthur. He is a clinical psychologist and medical professional as well as a carpenter. When we started and we asked what is building your mental capacity, how important it is, he laid a non-equivocable foundation and saying that your mental capacity determines who you are, what you would achieve, and everything in between. He also said without any doubt that the environment that you create either enables or inhibits the kind of life you have. He talked about the fact that when we are doing this, we must ensure that we have an atmosphere of love, whether it's self-love, being a crucial part of it, warmth and understanding. He said the fact that you may have lacked that in the initial growth stage of your life doesn't mean that you are scarred for life. The important thing is that you have the choice, you have the ability to create it for yourself. And how do we do that? We do that by looking at what we see. We do that by what we surround ourselves, ensuring that they are good things, the kind of relationships that we keep. Now we have moved to another topic, and we're then digested a very important piece of pie, and then we had to go for a commercial break. So we are right back. What we went away with, we're looking at how do we make sure that what does it help? Well, how when you build your mental capacity, because you've built it, and so what does it do? And we're looking at the what we call the importance, or shall we say the benefits of building a mental capacity. We realize that, hey, amongst all things, it helps with your coping mechanisms. It helps you the way you are able to rise up, or you're able to move beyond certain setbacks. It also helps you in realizing your life goals. And then we had to run away. So now we are right back. Isaac, this is a very important discussion. Yes. Tell us more.
Yeah, so ability to cope and adjust with life situations, form and maintain meaningful relationships, your own identity, and also pursuing life goals. The fifth one I want to add has to do with ability to live independently.
Okay.
So if your mental capacity is built well, you'll be independent. So if we compare you with your age, in mental health, we actually do comparisons because of the developmental process everybody goes through. So for children, they should be able to live a certain independence. For young adults, for adults, elderly, anybody who struggles to live independently based on their, when you compare with their age group, they have a problem. So if you're able to build, I realize you're independent, emotionally, financially, your ability to own your own thoughts, take decisions yourself, navigate your way through life and all that. You should at a certain level of independence. You may be some adults who are not independent at all, and it's a reflection of their mental well-being. Then finally, you are able to make a positive contribution to your society. So anybody with, some level of mental capacity, which is good, they are always finding, a way to make a difference, because they won't be satisfied with the status quo or what they see around themselves. They are always looking for opportunity to make a difference, and their presence in any social space is not destructive. So you go to work and all the problems is coming from this person.
Because
in the family you see someone who is always that the person is the problem. You go to, so all behavioral problems that is a threat to society is a function of a person's mental well-being. And they always seek the opportunity to improve the environment where they are and things like that. And all this is so critical for maximizing your life.
Okay.
To be able to die well, live well. That on your deathbed you are proud of yourself and the things that has happened to you. You're able to reach a certain point of self-actualization. There are some elderly people who've lived well. They are so graceful.
Oh.
They are not vindictive.
No.
They want everybody to progress.
Yeah.
If you meet any elderly person who is always pushing people down, it's a sign that they've not grown mentally.
They've not grown,
There's something about people like that who are self-actualized, very peaceful, very kind, merciful. They give calm. There's this sense of, wellness.
Yes, around them.
There's something around them that they. And that is how important it is. Some people in their older years, they are very, very vindictive, unsettled, they are very bitter, they are, you wonder, where did they pass?
So if you don't want in future somebody to say that, but this guy cried, but in the wrong gum. But even now, because it's sometimes even young people, sometimes you with them and there's an opportunity and they are more interested in who else is getting something or why the thing is couched in a particular way and it's not couched in a way that they would like, and so.
And when people die, even the obituary, when they write, those who live well, they say, life well lived, gone to glory, very, very nice statements.
Beautiful statements.
Another person, maybe those who are not too correct, they say, at long last. At long last. Because people are waiting. Some elderly people, there are people who are praying that they will even die.
Yes,
because they become very distracted. And some people, when they are in the hospital and they are not well, you see all kinds of people around
coming.
them. Others too, you really don't find people coming.
People come because they are obliged to come, but not because they want to be there.
Yes, and your mental capacity is so important in making sure that you live well.
I mean, I am so touched, and I challenged to say, how do I even build myself even more to be able to contribute? Because I would love to be the one who is helping others. I would love, and I hope you too, that you are watching us today, you are being challenged to say, how do I build my mental capacity even more? I have someone who says, Matthew is saying that, please permit me to digress a little. Well, maybe that's not an actual digression. It says that, would dogs say practicing my talent regularly or doing things I love good for my mental health? If so, how do hobbies help keep a good mental state? This is Matthew Kofi from Amakron in Kumasi.
So there are two things, hobbies and purpose.
Okay.
Purpose and the purpose, you may have career, you may have ministry and all that. So the things that you were created to do and become is one of the major determinants of a person's mental well-being.
Okay.
Because when you do what you love, or what you have the potential for with your talent and skills and career and all that, what it does is that it creates a certain sense of fulfillment, and that is so important. So when you're growing up, whilst you're growing up, there are two things. There are things that society expects you to become or to do. And there are things that you were created to do.
Okay.
The things you were created to do is what grants you fulfillment. if what society expects you to become and what you're created to do, there's disparity. It creates a conflict.
Yeah.
We call incongruence.
Okay.
And that creates problems. You may find someone who is on top of their game in career, but they are still not happy and fulfilled. And they wish they did something else. You know, I have people come and say, I wanted to be a teacher, but they forced me to go into medicine. You know, I wanted to be a fashion designer, but they forced me into law. You know, so being into law, you know, is the real self. Being what you wanted to do, fashion, is your ideal self. When there is this, you know, it creates problems. You know, so purpose is so important. I think the Bible is so clear about it. When you read, I think Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6, you know, train up a child in a way he should go. When it departs, when it grows up, he will not depart from it. The Amplified Version actually stretches a bit. It says, train up the child in the way he should go, teaching him to seek God's wisdom and will for his abilities and talents. So that when he grows up, he will not depart from it. So the way usually we think about right and wrong, but it goes beyond that.
Yeah.
What he was created to become, helping them to become that. So parents have the responsibility to help it, to identify what their kids are, you know, can do and guide them on that path. Because until they do what they love, they will not love what they are becoming. Until they do what they love, they will not love what they are becoming. And that will create a lot of problems for them as they grow older.
Right.
I love mental health. So I go to work to have fun. And I'm paid for having fun.
And that is what everyone
Yeah.
should do. But, Doc, we have looked at building our mental, but what happens when there is a challenge? There's a disconnect. When there's stress, what triggers stress? Because we realize that you talked about there being a disconnection. So what? And I think what triggers stress, and how can we help someone with stress-related
Problems.
mental challenges?
So stress is basically a response. That is the good news.
It's a response.
A response
Okay.
to a stressor.
Okay.
So if that response is negative, stress goes up. If that response is positive, stress goes down. So stress is not, the immediate response is automatic, but the continual response is choice.
Immediate response,
automatic.
automatic.
Continuous response
response,
is
choice.
I'll come
So-
to that in a minute.
No. You know, when you said that, it brought my mind to the issue about you maybe cooking and then your hand touching the hot stove. If you leave it there, you're ouch. But if you continue to leave it there,
You get bent.
continue.
So stress is a response to internal and external demands.
Yeah.
So internal things like unforgiveness, bitterness, jealousy, pride, you know, pain, you know, resentment, you know, looking down on yourself, lack of confidence. All those things are internal deliberations. They can be very stressful. Then external demands are the normal, you know, responsibilities and work-related problems and all that. So internal and external demands, you know. And I said it's a response because your assessment of the stressor makes the stress worse or resolve the stress. So there are two assessments. When anybody faces a stressor, two assessments. One, they assess the stressor itself. Then the second thing is that they assess their own ability to deal with the stressor. If any of those assessments is negative, stress goes up. So for example, you're going to write an exams. This exams is difficult. That's the first assessment of the stressor. Okay, it is difficult. I have not learned. I think I'll fail. Second assessment.
Second.
And this assessment is negative. Stress will go up. But someone will say, oh, this exams, it's not difficult. I'll do it. I have what it takes to do it. Stress crashes. So though learning for the exams may be difficult, but the stress of the learning of the exams will be minimal because they have assessed that process significantly.
Assess their capabilities.
Or they may say, oh, this exams is difficult, but I have learned. I'll be able to do it. Stress crashes. Or, oh, this job, maybe they've given me a lot of work to do at work. No problem. I would be able to plan and do it well. Stress crashes. This is overwhelming. Why is it that they are always
giving me work?
Do I even have what it takes? God, I'm dying.
Then before you realize some disease has manifested itself.
So two people can go through the same problems. One will feel more stressed than the other just by the way they assess it. And that is so important in dealing with stress. Two people may go through divorce. One will move on. Oh, if it's worked that way, you should go away with his big head. I'll move on. Another person will say, why me? After all the things I've done, God, all men are the same. I don't think I was made to marry. Your stress goes up.
And
so
increases
the assessment
exponentially.
of the stressor is so important. The automatic response to a stressor is not in your control. Because the moment you face a stressor, the body, sympathetic system is activated.
Yeah.
Immediately it's activated to prepare you to fight the stressor or to run away from the stressor. And that is what we call the fight and the flight response.
Yeah.
So all the catecholamines and stress hormones, cortisol is released. And that is responsible for all the physical and physiological changes that we see. So your BP goes up, your breathing goes up, your temperature may go up, your heart palpitation, muscle tension, all those things are there, is the body's response to it. If the stressor is, maintained at a certain level consistently for a longer period of time, that is when all the health issues begin. Because you are under a certain heightened state for a longer period of time. So
what is helpful for you?
What is helpful. So the moment you face a stressor, we become alarmed. The body starts the process. Then we marshal all our coping strategies to deal with the stressor. When our coping strategies fail, and the stress is overwhelming and is maintained for a longer period of time, we become exhausted. And that is where we say burnout.
Okay.
So you become exhausted. All your coping strategies are failing. And the stress is heightened in a heightened state and also prolonged beyond what your body is capable of handling. And that is when all the health issues will come up. Hypertension, diabetes, because all the stress hormones has its own problems on the body. Then you have bone problems, libido will even go down, you feel exhausted, anxiety, depression, and all those things will kick in. Just because the stressor is maintained for a longer period of time.
Okay, so since we don't want to maintain the stressor for a long time, we don't want to be so stressed, we don't want to have effects on our mental health, on our body, we don't want to burn out. Tell us, what mental exercises or what can we do to ensure that we are able to cope with the stresses of life, because that is guaranteed to come? How can we cope with those things that do not inure to our benefits, and that would so that we can be fit mentally? So
those things we do is part of stress management skills or self-help skills. The things that you do on a daily basis, they are not expensive, and they are very easy to do if you focus on that. So let me mention maybe a few of them. One, you need to have a positive attitude towards life.
A positive attitude towards life.
They sack you from somewhere, go to another place. Someone walks out, another person comes. You feel you right again, you move. So that attitude, the positive attitude towards life, it crushes stress. You are not overwhelmed by things. Two, you need to feed on positive information.
Feed on positive information.
Yes, because that is a reliever. When it feeds your positive, self. Then positive self-statements. What Christians may even call confessions. I will do well. I am beautiful. I am strong. I got this. I am moving on. Those, we call them positive self-statement. I am the head, not the tail. Those things that we do, actually, that's why, when footballers are going to play, or those people, they say those things to
give them boom, some verve.
That is very important.
Yeah.
And surround yourself with positive people. People who would lighten your day, would encourage you, spur you on. Some people can be a source of stress.
Oh, Lord.
Keep them at a distance. Then also rest.
No, rest.
Yes. There are two types of rest, relaxation and sleep. Everybody needs about 5 to 8 hours when you're an adult. Children need about, 8 to 12 hours. Babies and infants need about,
then they should do 64 because
the more they sleep, the more the benefit.
I tell you.
When they are awake, everything else.
Everything stops.
revolves around them. You know, so sleep is important. Relaxation means you're going to sit somewhere very nice, you know, by the pool, you're drinking some, drinks and all that. You know, looking into the skies with your dark glasses and tank.
That is chill.
That is relaxation. You need that. Then also exercise. Exercise, gives you a certain burst of freshness and energy.
I know. I like hiking so much, and I like hiking in the. Since I'm not being able to do it for some time because of my. Anyway, but hiking gives me such a lovely.
Yes. So daily exercises help. Then also, what do you call it? Thankfulness. Being thankful. What do you call it? Seeing the cup half full instead of half empty. And contentment. When you are content with what you have. Then also appreciating your own uniqueness instead of comparing yourself with others. When people begin to compare, that is when they feel undue pressure on themselves to do what they cannot do. And those activities can put undue stress on them. Then realistic goals and expectations. Setting realistic goals and expectations of yourself, of others, of the world around you, of the future, and of God. Sometimes our expectations marvel God. Sometimes we pray about certain things and God himself is confused.
Just a minute. I think we have to do a 2 parts of this program because the way he's going too fast. What do you think? So, but we'll see what the Lord will do. But basically, there's so much we can do to help us reduce the stress in our lives. And if we have the opportunity to have our last words, Isaac, what would you tell us?
I would say that adults are a reflection of their childhood. And at some point, we have control over what happens to our mental health. And it is based on how you think. If you can have control over how you think, everything around your life will change. As a man thinketh, so is he. So focus on the things that build, positively your thinking, patterns. How you think influences how you feel, and how you feel influences how you behave. Very important. So we are not a product of the events that happens to us. We're a product of our choices, and our choices are influenced by our thinking, and our thinking is influenced by the information and experiences we expose ourselves to. We need to have control of our thinking process. Everything else will change.
Have control of your thinking processes and everything. And I say everything will change. And these are the last words of Dr. Isaac Newman Arthur, a clinical psychologist, a medical practitioner, and a carpenter. Today you have had on the Springboard Hangout a look at adding value to your mental capacity. I hope we have been of great benefit to you, and indeed I have learned so much. Thank you, Isaac, for coming.
Thank you too for the opportunity.
Studios for today. And for you, for hanging out with us, for asking us those beautiful questions, and for increasing your mental capacity, capabilities, and strategies that you can use going into the future. I pray that we'll be able to have a fantastic week next week. To this same program, we repeated on ETV on Sunday at 5 p.m. Make it a time to be there. And so until we come your way next week, it's a pleasure being with you. I love you and enjoy a phenomenal week. You are blessed and you are loved. Bye.